agenda, there's nothing to do with this revow that's present and before us. I don't even believe I see our tax administrator here tonight, which is sadly disappointing to me personally. I spent some time going through some various things, and what I found is a lot of inconsistencies. I'd like to share a few of them with you here tonight. Many of you will agree that while our land values have gone up, I don't think they've tripled and quadrupled in 5 times the rate. And we have that present currently in this valuation process that we have. I don't think anyone in this room would agree that any value went down. But I'm going to give you an example of that tonight that I found in just my random meddling through the county website. But I'm going to start with just one parcel of property. And I think the majority of our problem with this evaluation is land, much more so than it is buildings. I'll give you a perfect example. A tract of land on Sykes Road, up near 7 Paths, okay? Up in the middle of God's country. Right? It's definitely not something that's sprawling or anything like that. And a parcel of land went from $286,000 to 124 acres. So $2,000 an acre, let's use round numbers, to $1.2 million. Folks, that's over 6 years. In 6 years, if land's going to do that again, we all need to go buy some land. The reality of it is it's not. The reality is if we let this type of thing go by, it's going to be a hot mess when we do this next evaluation, because it's going to do the exact opposite. And we're going to have declining values because we have overinflated values. But $1 million, almost 5 times its value, is just unconscionable. It's not real. It can't be. It's just, and if it is, if somebody walked out there and paid that owner $1.25 million, God bless them. The next person's not standing behind them with a check for another $1.25 million to buy the farm next door. It's a one-off. That's the other thing that I think is a really big despairing piece of this process, and I don't know how to fix it, but I do think, let me throw this in, I do think, and I would like to see that when this process is finally over, Madam Manager, is we need to have a follow-up meeting session, multiple meetings, to break out what we did well, what worked well, and what didn't work well, and how are we going to do it differently in the future with a better outcome. Because this is the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, expecting no one to be mad. It's crazy. So this is one example. Another example is just a 1 acre building lot, a home already been built on it from 2006. The land value went from $36,000 to $96,000. How can that be? How can that lot be worth $100,000 for 1 acre of land in a 45 lot neighborhood? It just can't be. MC Wilder Road, because I tried to get samples across the whole county. MC Wilder Road, not very far from Rayner Crossroads, or what many people know as Wilder's Crossing. A farm, 3rd generation, 22 mere acres, not huge, not a plantation, not hundreds of acres, 22 acres. The elderly couple's got 2 acres chopped out for their house, and the 22 acres went from $89,000 to $300,000. It's not worth that. Appraisals require 3 comparables. What is a comparable? Something that's similar, right? You can compare it to each other. They require 3. And why is that 3? Because if that one guy from my previous example went up and paid somebody $1.25 million for their farm, what's the chances 2 more people did it? Because if they did, all 3 had happened in a close area, well then maybe that's fair market value. But when one happens, that's just called lucky for the person that got to make the sale, right? But is it the norm? And the answer is no, it's not the norm. 300+%. Farmland, some open crop and some trees, probably a 50-50 mix. And not a pretty beautiful little square rectangle, nice partial land. You can maybe go in and put you a couple lots and do whatever. No. This thing's got its little cute shapes to it, and probably got 10 sides to the property line. And jump into commercial for a little bit, because again, you need to look at commercial. Mays Crossroads, Example community, Harts Veterinarian Center. 4.5 acres. Property's been there, I don't know, maybe 15 years, maybe close to 18 years now. Been there a little while. But land's land, right? 4.5 acres is 4.5 acres, right? So this 4.5 acres went from $129,000 in value last year to $608,000 this year. 130 to 600. Again, I want to buy some land next to that. That'd be a great run for the next 6 years. Right next door to it is 3.6 acres on a corner, clear cut, with a creek running through a third of it. So it's at a corner, all right? If you imagine, for you all to see, it's a triangle. Here comes Mays Cross Road. It comes down to Tarboro Road. So here's Mays Cross Road and Tarboro Road. Here's this little triangle right here in this corner. And a third of it is cut and severed by this little creek run. That land was valued at $157,000 before the assessment, and now it's valued at $735,000, $202,000 an acre. The Hartwood property next door was valued at $135,000 an acre. Again, unsustainable. Here's a great one for you. Here's a 5-acre building lot in an established community. It was valued at $70,000. It's now valued at $93,180. Well, that's not a lot. That's only $30,000, folks. Ish. Maybe only 25, really. But comparables, right? Here's another 5-acre tract right next to it. No, this tract itself sold in June of last year for $100,000. But the assessment says it's only worth $93,000. Now, if that's not hypocrisy, I don't know what it is. Like, how can you tell me that something that sold 6 months ago is worth less than what it's sold for, that something hasn't sold in 100 years is worth 5 times what it's sold, what it's valued at? This process is broken. These are clear examples that it's broken. This is an example of one where the value went down. I was shocked. 5 acres of land, on a road, 10 houses, 5 acres. Most of them are 4 or 5 acres apiece. No more than a half a mile from the crossroads of 401 and E.F. Copper Road. Okay, right off 401. Was valued at 75. Now it's valued at 72. How do you use the math from all these to get this one? And the next door neighbor, same situation. It's not their fault, but this is all over the charts. This evaluation, or this assessment, I should say, is very troubling. It's even more troubling that I've spoken to you all about this, and I say you all, to the government, about this process. And my concern that we would end up exactly where we were 6 years ago, and folks were standing right in the middle of the same pile of poop, in the same pasture, in the same mud hole that we stood in 6 years ago. You got folks' evaluations all over the charts. You got nobody to advocate for them. Half of these folks I just told you about are 80 plus years old.
Wow.
I have an appointment tomorrow, and I had an 84-year-old constituent reach out to me, concerned over his property. And I said, "Sir, what are you doing Tuesday morning?" "Well, not much of anything." I said, "Can you meet me?" He said, "Yeah." "I'm bringing him with me for my appointment. We're going to do him first." Because his land went up 500 times,
Wow.
5 times in that year. And there's just no way. And he's 83 years old. Like, how do you do that? So we've got to have a better process moving forward, or we have to have accountability for the lack of making a better process. One or the other. But the process needs to be done better, because this is an embarrassment. This is an embarrassment. And this is a third-party person that this is the third-party company.
Wow.
The reality of it is we need some accountability to it. There was one rumor that I wanted to decipher for folks. There was a lot of concern about, well, what happens if I live in a town and now you've got this big number that I can't get down, and now the towns are going to do their rates, and now my taxes are going to go up in the town. The good news is that the towns are held to the same standard the county is, so they've got to do a reevaluation of their tax rate and bring that down to, the statute requires that. So if you hear anyone say that, please let them know that they know the towns have got to do it next. They'll take our value and they're moving their rate down. Or they're supposed to report revenue neutral rate. I can't speak for what they will do, but what they should is most likely. The real problem, I think, is the schedule of values, and I think that's the big takeaway. That's the big learner. This is the book of the schedule of values. Why does that trouble me? Because this elected body, you all remember the day they gave us this book. Here it is. Right there. Everything's good, right? You all understand all that, right? That's no different than me bringing out my book that I have to abide by. Dropping it in front of you all. And saying, this is good with you, right? This is how we're going to do it. Here it is. Here it is. Here's all the things. You like this, right? This is the way to do it, right? You good with that? Look over it for a week and get back to me. Crickets. And then you come into a meeting and say, yeah, you like this, right? Pass off on it. You good with it, right? This has got to stop. This has got to stop. If we need more time, then we need to make more time in our time. This can't go on. This is not everybody's subject matter. We all have our expertise. This isn't mine. This is someone else's. And to expect someone sitting on this board, even though we agreed to do what we're doing tonight, we're all here, those that can do. I don't know, there's got to be at least a ream of paper there. It's what, 500 pages? Who's got the time to read that and absorb it and appreciate what it says? I don't. But what I can tell you is if we'd have taken the pause and we'd taken a sampling, so I recommended this too, take a sampling, like I just spent time doing, and see if it makes sense. A little commercial, a little country, a little older homes, a little newer homes. And look and saw if it made sense. We all were saying the same thing. Well, clearly the land values don't make any sense. So let's go back in here to wherever it is that talks about land values, Schedule F, and let's see what, tell me about, help me understand Schedule F, sir or ma'am. Help me understand what I need to learn about these pages that we can make this different. That's the process I think we need to have. And we certainly didn't get it this time. It would have been easy to make this a much more respectable process. And a lot of people that their nerves were tore up, their calm was gone, their peace was shattered. I shared an email last night about being calm, how calming it was to receive my message. This isn't how a government should treat its people. And it certainly isn't how a government should respect its governing body. So the real schedule of values is where I think it needs to be, where we need to look at more clearly. The sad news is, folks, is we can't change the schedule of values except during the year of the evaluation. So we as your elected bodies' backs are against the wall because we have a timeline that has no ability for us to really dig too deeply. We almost got to, I hate to say this, but waterboard it. Take it how we can and keep rolling. But that's got to be different. So I'm asking for these meetings for next time around so that we don't do this. And I'm hoping that everyone will appeal your evaluation if you've got an issue like the ones I've just shared. Because if you appeal it and you don't get the outcome you're looking for from the appraisal company, then you get to appeal it again, just like in the court system. Then you get to appeal it to the Board of Equalization and Review, which eventually becomes this board. And then we're having the time to absorb your case because we're getting the paperwork to look over your situation and what you're seeing. And clearly I've got examples that'll blow that out of the water, right? I mean, and that was very easy to find for me anyway. we need to do a better time, do better work at this, I should say. So please share with your friends, your family, the folks you have supper with, engage with each other. If they've got this problem, appeal it. I hate to be the guy to deliver that kind of message, but sadly I felt like it needed to be said.
Thank you.